Hey, y'all. Good evening. Happy Wednesday. Welcome back to another episode of Black Women in Business, The Dirty Truth. So I know I say this all the time, we have a really good one. Just get used to me saying that every time. It's the first thing that comes to my mind is we have a really good topic to talk about tonight. It just happens, whatever. So if you read the description, sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. So if you're like me, maybe you did, maybe you didn't. We're talking about side hustle to full-time business. I feel like this is a epidemic amongst women jumping into side hustles. So we're going to talk about it, what it looks like when you decide to make it a full-time business, or maybe you're like, when do I make this a full-time business? When is it okay? What should I be looking for? So on and so forth. So if that's you or you know somebody, hit that share button, grab yourself a drink, your friend, your partner, your boo, whatever. Let's sit down and talk about it. So side hustles, like I said, have been on the rise and they've become very popular with women for lots of different reasons, right? Women are trying to find empowerment, additional income, not education, y'all, additional income, ways to pursue their passions, outside of their home, right? So they find small businesses, they find side hustles. I know we've talked about it on a previous episode, how we all came into our current businesses. And a lot of those had to do with things going on in our lives currently or at that time in our families with our kids, so on and so forth. They're also flexible, right? Women get into them because they can do it. They can juggle them while they're taking care of their families and while they're doing other things. So what happens when you've been doing it for a while and you're like, okay, I'm tired of playing over here, or you feel like it has exploded from a side hustle into a full-blown business? When is it time to transition? We'll start there. So ladies, when do you feel like, or when did you, if when you started your business, it was a side hustle up against something else? I know for Dayna had a brick and mortar. So that's like a huge, like legit business, right? So when do you decide, or when do you know, or when from a like technical safe standpoint, is it safe or a good idea to start toying with the idea of switching from that side hustle to a, what I guess society considers a legit full-time business?
So I think first and foremost, which I say that all the time. I think first and foremost, there's a lot of differing viewpoints on this, right? Like, so if you're like Tony Robbins, burn the boats, what was Danny Johnson, that scraps of nothing to success. Like, I think it's easy to like get to this space where you're like, yes, I'm gonna go full time. Let's go, let's do it. But I also feel like there's wisdom in making sure all your ducks are in a row. And what I mean by that is I will say, and just because you have brought it up, before I ventured out on my own with my own spa, right, I wanted to leave my current employment probably 2 years before I actually left it. But I needed to make sure that foundation wise, I was going to be able to convert to what would still allow me to be successful. One of the things that it actually breaks my heart to watch is when you see entrepreneurs or you see small business owners in survival mode, right? Or they're in such destitute that they're in desperation. And so then they stop making wise decisions when it comes to their actual business, right? Because they're trying to get a quick dollar versus necessarily looking at what is the long-term game that I'm trying to win in this particular thing. So my advice, and this is my opinion, the world according to Dayna, but I really feel like you should count your costs and have a strong foundation and outline before you say, boom, I'm going to go straight full time. Because there's a difference between owning a business and working a job, right? You know, if I output and go to work for this amount of hours, I'm going to make this amount per hour, and this is what my check is going to look like. Whereas in business, sometimes it can be amazing and up here, and then some days you're way down here and you can't, or I shouldn't say you can't, because you can put forth more effort, but like you don't have direct control over that outcome. And so you want to make sure that statistically, if you're going into something that might take 5 to 10 years to really get off the ground, that you will be able to kind of financially support that, mentally support that, organize your schedule to support that. Because even if it's not a money thing, sometimes it's what is the time and energy that I'm putting out of it, right? Because I see so many times people are working their full-time job and then they're doing their hustle, right? And they're doing the hustle only enough to have a hustle, and it never be anything more than that. And they never can scale it because they still have this full-time job, right? So I do think that there's levels where you just need to make sure you have a strong foundation, where you can output and put that into once you say, hey, now I'm going to be full-time.
I couldn't find my button for a minute. Y'all excuse me. So like for me, I guess my business was more like a side hustle, and kind of still is, because I work outside of the home. And I don't know what business is. I still don't. And I mean, I started in 2020. And so it started out as a side hustle. Y'all remember when everybody had to pivot and we were trying to figure out like, oh, well, how do you show up as a doula virtually? I mean, can you provide emotional support through the cell phone? I mean, it was weird. And so I just had to step back and like, okay, do I really want to do this? And so the, I guess, pivotal moment for me was a couple of years ago now, 21, I guess, when I just decided I enjoy teaching. I love teaching. I love seeing people learn. I love all it. But now how do I show up every day to teach? And like Dayna had mentioned, I have not figured out how to make all the ducks fall in a row, because I don't know what the heck I'm doing. So I don't know. Right now, my business is a side hustle until I decide to turn it into a full-time business, because I don't know what the heck I'm doing. I know there are people here in my local area that knows what they're doing, and they've been doing it for a long time. And I'm looking to learn from those people, because help a sister out. She don't know what she's doing.
Can I just say, like, there's not like this secret sauce. You need to make and replace what you're making, right? So it's funny that you guys say that. So I actually, my last mid networking event that I did, it was the 7-figure blueprint. And so one of the things that we talked to in the exercise that I had people go through was know your numbers, right? So the first exercise that I had them do is, what is, like, if you said, okay, it's 2023, and in order for me to actually replace my income as a teacher, this is the amount of money that I would need to make, right? And then so you had 2 goals, right? So this is what I would need to make. This is my realistic goal. And then this is my big audacious goal. So you would have 2 numbers that sit there. And the reason you want the big audacious goal too is because, again, remember, business has ebbs and flows. It's not consistent. So if all you ever shoot for is just to replace your income, soon as things get hard, right, and you don't have that money coming into your business, you're going to struggle, right? Like, you're going to have your back up against the wall. So you also want to shoot way higher than that. And then after we did that, our second task was to say, okay, so what did you actually make last year, right? Which for some people was nothing, 0, right? And then take a look at whatever that gap is, right? Because that gap tells you what you need to be running for. So the reason we do this exercise is because so many people have a side hustle with no goal to create something beyond the side hustle, right? And it will forever be 20 years from now still your side hustle, because you never mapped out a plan to do anything different. And one of the things that I like to do in that exercise is I will even break it down further. So, like, let's say, for instance, we'll take Young Living, for example. Okay, so if you know that for the year you need to make, I'm gonna just throw a random number out there, $50,000, right, to make sense for it to switch over to your actual business versus a side hustle. How many kits do you need to sell each month, right? And so once you break down those numbers, you might say, okay, well, I can still have this part of my business, but I might need other things that also bring revenue that complement this business to push me up further, right? So that's why everybody has ebooks now, right? That's why everybody's an author now, right? That's why people have digital downloads and this and it complements their businesses or it complements what they do. But that way you're replicating yourself and you're multiplying your revenue without actually exerting necessarily a whole lot of energy. Now you do have to exert that energy maybe one time, but then it duplicates itself, it duplicates itself, it duplicates itself. But I do feel like it's super, super, super important to really pinpoint your numbers. If you ignore those numbers and you never look at those numbers and you never set goals, you're never going to reach any goals, right? And maybe I'll see if I can share a link to the PDF that I have on that. Maybe in the comments. I don't know if that's possible for me to do, but I'll try to. But I do think that it's important that you actually map that out and do something a little bit different so you can actually switch from a side hustle to a real business. Or I shouldn't say real business, but like full-time business.
Yeah, Dayna said exactly what I was thinking. Like, I think that you're ready to make that transition when you've decided whether you use mindset or you've been planning or however whatever floats your boat and makes you more comfortable with this next piece is that when you stop saying it's a hustle and it's now a business, because it is a mentality. We talked about hustle culture before, episodes way back. Check out the YouTube channel for all of those in the comments. But we talked about like hustling is something you do momentarily. Like it's fast paced for you have a set amount of time that you're going to stop doing, whether it's like you're doing like 30 days, 90 days, whatever. But when you make that switch, I think is when you're ready, if you will, to do that. Because, like Dayna said, do you have a plan going forward? Are you living day to day? Because those are like hustle things, right? That's your hustle mentality. So how do you make that change is when you're ready, like ready to say, hey, do I need to secure, financial assistance? Like whatever your business is, it doesn't necessarily have to be like an online business if you're brick and mortar as well, or maybe you just go to pop-up events and now you're ready to have a brick and mortar. Like you're going to need financial assistance in order to find space, right? But are you, like Dayna said, have you made a business plan? Like, because people are going to want to see that. We talked about this before. Like, you're not going to just walk in and be like, I need 100 grand, hook me up. Okay, to do what? Even if you're not going to a financial institution, you're going to investors. Maybe an investment group who are looking for things to invest in. They're still going to want to know that they're putting their money into somebody who has some kind of direction. They're not just like, well, until I run out or until it just doesn't feel good anymore, right? Because those ebbs and flows do come. And I mean, shoot, I could have quit a million times over because it's not easy. So when you have that mentality and when you're ready to stop having it as a hustle and you see that, I feel like that's when you start having those conversations. Like, I know you don't like to talk about it, but do you have a target market? Do you have all of these things in place? Or are you still like anybody and everybody? Like Dayna said, if you have a $3,000 goal, like, do you know how you're hitting that? Do you know how in 30 days and whatever your length is, how are you doing that weekly? How are you doing that daily? And it's the hard conversations that I feel like so many of us avoid because we don't want to admit, I want to make money. Like, why are you listening to us talk right now? Because you want to make more money. Like, let's just say it. I need to make more money. I want to quit my day job. I want to say the thing and then let's move on. So Dayna made a really good point. And I know some people probably were like, what is she talking about? So Dayna said scaling. Dayna, you want to elaborate on what scaling is?
For sure, for sure. And before I go into scaling, I do think that also you need to know what you want and need. So even though we're using the term side hustle, maybe when we say full-time business, you're like, actually, I just want to pay for my daughter's dance lessons, right? I don't necessarily need to make 50,000 a year. I don't like, honestly and truthfully, if I just make 200 a month, I'm doing good, right? So first establishing that would depend on what scaling looks like for you, right? So for the person that is like, I'm in a place where things are flowing well and I'm starting to get a little overwhelmed, maybe I need to start outsourcing, maybe I need to start bringing on people. Scaling is going to be, now I have the ability because I have enough income coming in to then outsource some of those things. Or depending on what you're doing, and most of the people, you guys let me know in the comments, you might have started a business from something that was a passion from who you are, right? So it might have been something that you lacked or something that you needed or a desperation that you had. And so you have this inclination where you want to share and touch other people. Well, that's beautiful if you're touching and helping maybe 100 people, but what would that look like if you're helping 10,000 people? What would that look like if you're helping 1,000,000 people, right? Because if what you have is so impactful, honestly and truthfully, it's kind of selfish to not try to get it in front of more and more people. So that would be the level of scaling. But you can't scale to 1,000,000 people single-handedly, right? So that's where people start having corporations. That's where, again, you start hiring. That's when you say, hey, we're at this bigger space, but now I need further assistance. So you're duplicating your efforts and your team is strong enough where now you can touch more lives, you can touch more people. And honestly and truthfully, that's what the structure of like Young Living the business, right? Multi-level marketing in general, right? So for the most part, it's like, hey, we want to touch more lives, but if we have more people touching a life, right, then we duplicate our efforts and it becomes something bigger. So it's the same concept, even if you're not in multi-level marketing. It's a business concept, right? So it's going to be that same foundation. And so you want to think about those things. And there's other ways you can be scaling when it comes to the money that you're making. Maybe you want to double your income. Maybe you want to retire a spouse. Whatever that looks like, all of that's going to fall under that umbrella of scaling, because now you are taking where you are and saying, hey, I want to go further, right? I want to go. And I think it's sad because I think some people, and it's a mindset thing, they don't see themselves beyond. In my area, Detroit, like, so we have a very, very high population of entrepreneurs, but we also have a very high population of solopreneurs, which means it's just one person or two people that are running the whole show, right? Well, with one or two people, you cannot scale to billions, right? Millions. You can't do it. It's not physically possible. You can only work to the efforts that you can work, even if you have a team. And so that's where that whole outlook of scaling comes into play, because you could be impacting more, you could be bringing in more, and you could be doing more. But sometimes we're too scared to take on those bigger efforts or those bigger things. And sometimes it does take investment too. So some people don't see themselves quite in that position yet, where they're like, oh, now I can pay for someone to do this, or I can pay for someone to do that. So it just kind of depends on what that looks like for you.
So I feel like that falls into, like, we're talking, Dayna's, when you're talking about scaling business growth, your success. So what other points do you think are crucial when so say you've made that transition, you said, I'm leaving the side hustle, I'm going full time, I'm looking at scaling where they've brought on people. What other strategies, if you will, do you think are crucial to having that business growth and success alongside when you start scaling your business? What other strategies come into play for having growth and success in your business?
Well, it was mentioned in the beginning. I'm gonna just insert my little nugget here. If you don't know what you're doing like me, get you a business coach. Mindset is everything when going into business, and just make sure you have a good business coach, maybe a spiritual coach if you believe in that sort of thing. Just get you somebody that's gonna hold your hand because it is a tedious process. And I know all that stuff that Dayna mentioned, it's all fine and good. But that was Spanish when she was just talking, because I'm like, I don't know what she's talking about. So if you like me and don't know what you're doing, honey, get you somebody that do know what they're doing. Somebody that's really good and reputable that's going to help you and hold your hand, because it's hard out here. We gonna learn together.
I say action. Regardless, I think the other thing, just kind of building on what Adriana had said, sometimes though, as entrepreneurs, we get into paralysis because we're taking in all this knowledge and we're hiring all these people and we're learning all of these things, and then we're not doing anything, right? Like, I honestly would say, like, take action, take action ugly, take action sloppy, and just do it, and work on your interpersonal communication and your interpersonal relationships, because I don't care what type of business you have, I don't care what industry you are in, you need people, right? And if you don't know how to talk to people, if you don't know how to build relationships, if you don't know how to attract the right people, you can be selling, I don't know, water bottles, or you can be selling glasses. It doesn't matter, because you still don't know how to convert those people. And so I would say work on those skills, because those skills are going to convert. And a lot of those skills you don't have to pay for. You can learn those things. There's plenty of things online. There's things that you can listen to, things that you can watch. But I often, when I'm doing, my business mentoring and talking to people, everybody wants a secret sauce. Everybody wants this formula. Everybody wants this easy button. Everybody wants to be, oh, okay, well, what do my emails need to look like? Doesn't matter. Just send them. Start sending emails, right? Like, yes, at some point you're going to get better, but right now you just need to build an email list, right? So you just need to have a reason for people to want to hear you or listen to you, right? Or I want to start a Facebook group. That's great. Like, you need people still, right? Like, you can create the Facebook group, you can create the Instagram account, or whatever you want to do. But if you're talking to yourself, what's the point? Right? So you still need those same relationship building skills. And you can't skip over that step. You can't ignore it. Like, you're not going to hashtag your way to success. You're not going to TikTok yourself. You know what I mean? Like, you have to actually then convert it to sales, into people, into conversations. And I think we overthink that. So I'll kind of throw it back to Andriana, because, like, even when you say, I don't know what you're talking about with revenue, or I don't know what money is, right? You know that last year I didn't make enough money to quit my job. You know that, right? You know, if I wanted to quit my job, this is how much money I would need to make. Because I'm assuming you filed your taxes, right? So you know what that would look like, right? That nobody needs to teach you that. Like, that's just, in order for me to live, I need to make more than I spend, right? Like, I need to have this coming in. So we get caught up on the how when we skipped over what we need to do, right? Like, you need to first actually talk to people. You need to first know what you're reaching for, right? Like, why are you a doula? Why are you doing, like, who do you need to speak to? Who do you need to, that's where it starts, because you have the skills, and you still know more than I do. You still know more than Tameka do. You still know more than the other people that are, listening to you, but don't get caught up here because just take action and start doing the things, because that's what's going to attract people to come.
And now let's expound on what both of them have already said. This is like going in a nice little circle here. Your consistency is like what Dayna is saying. And to a more businessy point, like your build a strong brand of you, whatever that is, show up in your brand. Whether, Dayna has already said it, and she said it very, very eloquently, if we're going to use big words today. But show up, how you want to show up. You do how you're going to do it. Like, just take the action, but be consistent in whatever your message is. I mean, if you're saying you're a store that is taking on, earth type challenges, you want to have eco-friendly packaging, like have eco-friendly packaging and do what it's going to take to have the eco-friendly packaging. Don't just decide, okay, it was good and it brought us hundreds and thousands of customers, but it's cheaper if I just go back to plastic. Y'all, we're going back to the plastic, or we going back. Like, be consistent in whatever your message is and build that strong brand, because then you can't, when you have those moments, people are going to trust. We've talked about it before, that that trust, like they know you, they're going to come to you regardless. If there's a big dip in the economy like what's going on right now, people are shopping where they trust and where they feel comfortable and where they know they're getting whatever it is. Like, people are still going to Starbucks and they're still going to Dunkin' Donuts and Target. Like, I go to Target and it's still packed and I'm like, nobody got money. So what are we doing at Target? But they trust Target, right? They feel like, I'm going to Target, I'm spending my money on whatever their reasoning for being there. Target shows up consistently. Their shelves might be empty, but they are showing up on your TV with whatever their message is. So take that action, but be consistent in whatever your branding is. And I would not be me if I did not tell you this is going to be hard. It's going to be demanding. It's probably, especially in those first, I think Dayna said 10 years. I was going to say 5, but I'm going to stick with her message of 10 years. It's going to be hard. So you have got to prioritize your self-care. You've got to, and what I mean by that is not just go get your nails done or take a spa day. I mean, like, setting boundaries, right? Delegating where you can delegate. If you've done the scaling and you've brought in new people, whether you're a digital creator, content creator, whatever you do, a VA, you have a brick and mortar business, if you're scaling and you have people there, delegate where you can delegate. And if you're a solopreneur, then get a VA. If that's something that's within your means to do those things. But make sure you're setting boundaries and remember to take on activities, say yes to the things, do the things, say no to the things that are not recharging you and not inspiring you, and vice versa. If it's inspiring you and recharging you so that you can get up day in and day out, 365 days a year, dedicate to some part of your business, you've got to do that, because it's hard. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like it is not hard. It is. We've said it before, I think about 2 episodes ago. This is not for everybody. Stop making everybody go into business, because it's hard. It is not easy. You have to, it's not like Dayna said in the beginning. You're not getting up and punching a clock and knowing, hey, I have to go in here and stock these shelves or send these reports. Like, there's nobody telling you specifically, if you do these things, you're going to get paid on the 1st and the 15th or every 2 weeks. This has to be something that you get up with the energy even. And Dayna has said it a million times. You're never going to feel like doing the nitty gritty things that make your business churn. So you've got to take care of you, so you'll get up and do those things. Now that I've said that it's hard, we would not be the channel, the episodes, the trio that we are if we did not tackle the hard piece that is going to hit. Specifically, ladies, let's jump in before we let everybody go on this Wednesday evening and talk about overcoming the challenges of being a woman in business. You're going to step in from a side hustle. So you're going to leave that realm of, oh, she's just a whatever it is, your little cute business and all the other snide things that we've brought up on here. And now you're going into a whole other realm, right? If you're registering as an LLC, you're registering as a business, you have all these things, and now you have to get up, pull up your big girl panties, and do the big boss things. What are some of the things that these ladies switching over are going to run into, or are going to be magnified now that they're leaving this side hustle and going into a full-time business?
Y'all was waiting on me to say something. Child. First, make sure that this is what you want to do, reevaluate. Yes, you want to do this as a business. So like Dayna said in the beginning, action, just do it. You're going to fall on your face. It's going to hurt. Just get back up, dust yourself off, go on back, start doing it again. Because it's in your heart, it's your passion, obviously, because you started the business. Just keep going, girl. You got it.
I honestly feel like people aren't successful at entrepreneurship and starting small businesses because they quit too soon. And when I say that, we will pay somebody a lot of money and wait 4 years to get a degree, to be in debt, to maybe find a job, 4 to 6 years, right? And still not get paid even enough to pay off that debt that you went into for the 4 to 6 years, right? Because there's people that went to school for 4 to 6 years that 30 years later still paying on some debt, right? And we say, well, that makes sense. Everybody should do that, right? Whereas we get a business and the business isn't profitable in the first year, and we like, oh, well, that's not for me. Maybe I'm talking to the wrong people. Maybe I'm in the wrong business. Let me switch up my business. So then you restart your clock, right? from the start, instead of sticking it out and being consistent. If you're watching this and you've ever been a brand partner on my team, right? I think I'm on 7 years, maybe 8 years. I don't remember with Young Living. So you weren't around long enough to quit. Yeah. Okay. So if this didn't work for you, it was a you thing, right? Like, so I think that it's, again, that mindset shift, because we come out the gates as women and we want people to do the way we would do for them, right? Honestly and truthfully, if my neighbors were selling snow in the summertime because I know them, I'm going to be like, okay, this is a strange thing to sell, but like, let me see how I can support you. And even if I don't, I'm like, no, that's really stupid. I'm going to be like, well, you want to come over and tell my friends about it? Like, maybe somebody else thinks it's a good idea. I don't know, right? Because that's what we would do for other people. We think that people should do that for us, and it doesn't happen. I feel like being a woman in business, unfortunately, there's a lot of catty. Unfortunately, there's a lot of misunderstanding or misrepresentation, right? The fact that anybody is like, I'd rather shop at Target than shop with my friend, it blows my mind. I don't get it. I don't understand it. It doesn't make sense to me, but I know that I'm, the minority, but it doesn't even make sense. I'm like, I go to Target for the little $5 rack and that's it. Like, and the things that I get on the $5 rack are simply stuff that I'm going to send my oily people stuff, right? It's like cute little stuff that I'm putting in there with oils. But sorry if I offended you and you love Target. More power to you. But my point just simply being that I feel like we gravitate to something that it seems more socially acceptable. And so then it's more comfortable. Whereas we need to also think about, how are we actually supporting people, right? When you buy toothpaste at the store instead of buying my Thieves toothpaste, right? You are taking money out of my baby's mouth, right? Like, when you decide that I'm going to get this toxic-free cleaning stuff from Target that's garbage and not toxic-free, instead of purchasing it from me, like, these are the effects that are happening. And I do feel like every woman that goes in business needs to know that these are some of the obstacles. You need to know that these are some of the obstacles. So when they happen, not if they happen, when they happen, and you're like, no, I knew that person would be down for me or whatever, you're just like, there goes another one, right? Oh, they told me that was going to happen. And that way you can have a thicker skin and you can keep going until you find the right people, until you find the right environment, until you find the right stuff. So don't quit so soon. Okay. unless you've been in this game 10 years, you have no excuse. No.
I like that. That's like, it's your fault. You did not stick around. You were not here longer than me. You should still be here. I love that. But that's fact, right? Like, there is just acknowledge the things that are going to happen as women. Sorry, fellas, if you're listening, but we all have our roadblocks, right? But as women, there are going to be unique things that we're going to be up against in your business, and acknowledging them, feeling what you need to feel about it. I think, my thing for the week was like, cry hard if you need to cry hard. It's not the words, because there's some swear words, but might be some babies listening. But like, do the cry and then move on, because they're gonna happen. Like, they're there, and though we're digging them out of the way, maybe in your lifetime they're never gonna go away. Hopefully, and if you have daughters and nieces in their lifetimes, it won't be an issue. But for now, it is, and they're just things that you're gonna face. But like us talking here, find yourself a community. If this is for you, we love you. Thank you for your support. Keep coming.
Can I add one thing? Can I add one thing, Tameka? Only because I do feel like there's going to be a shift. So I feel like our kids' generation are shifting because they are living in an influencer time period. So I do feel like the ignorance is our generation. I'll just group everybody together. But because we came from an age of advertisement, right? Like, so what we saw on TV, what we saw in magazines, what pops up on our phone, that's how we gravitated to, this is why we buy, right? Whereas I do feel like these next generations are coming up where what did that TikToker say? What did the YouTuber say? What did the person I follow on Instagram say? That's who they value more so. So I do feel like we're going to be breaking some of those chains. It's just crazy that multi-level marketing was like way far in advance. And now all of a sudden y'all realize that it's a better system than affiliate marketing, y'all. Like, if you don't understand that, y'all need to understand that. But I just want to put that little snippet in, because I do feel like it's going to change.
So that's an even better point to be made. You've got to keep showing up, because it is proving, and if it holds, which I believe it will hold, because again, we've said it before, because I feel like deja vu right this moment. Big brands are paying thousands and thousands of dollars for influencers, if you like that word, to market their products. Whereas they might have spent $1 million, they're paying one person $10,000 to give them 3 posts, 2 stories, and a blog, or something crazy like that. So it's here to stay. So you have to run your business so that it's definitely a complete shift for when your daughter or your son or your niece or your nephew or your grandkids, wherever stage of life you're in, they decide to pick it up. Because we have unique challenges, but if this community is for you, we love having you. We thank you for your support. Keep showing up here. Ask us the questions. And if it's not for you, and there is a tribe, there is a community, there is a sisterhood, there's a brotherhood, there is something out there for everybody to make sure that you have the support that you need. Do not get imposter syndrome. Do not have the self-doubt, because everybody is, like Andriana said, falling flat on their face at some point in time, maybe multiple times. You may do it every day for a month straight, but get up, keep going, because you're going to make it. You're going to make it, and you're going to live your dreams out if you have that plan in place to switch the side hustle to a business, and keep going strong and know that you have the power to do it. All right, y'all. We appreciate you being here with us this evening. Y'all know what to do. Share, like, comment, tag all your peeps so that they know that they missed it live, but they can catch us again. Same place, same time, next Wednesday. I'm going to try to do this the right way. 5 Central, 6 Eastern. Y'all, YouTube channel is in the comments. Go and check out all the previous episodes, and we'll see you next week.